This is the Geometry Chapter 11 final review video. Chapter 11 was all about the surface area and volume of various different three-dimensional objects. We started with the surface area of prisms and cylinders, and that's what this objective talks about. In order to know how to find the surface area of these shapes, you need to know the surface area formula. So the surface area formula is the lateral area plus two bases for prisms and cylinders. Now there's also a formula for that lateral area. That's the perimeter of the base times the height of the shape. And I bring this up because I asked for the lateral and the surface area here. So as we begin, you can see this first shape is a rectangular prism, and so typically we treat the base as the one it's sitting on in this case. Now we don't always treat the base as the shape it's sitting on, but we do here. So I would start with getting that lateral area. The lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height. You have 4, 4, well the other sides are also 4s as well, for a total of 16 times the entire height, 10, and that gives you the lateral area of 160. Now to get the surface area, you need also two bases. So that's what I would find next. I would go base. Well, the shape of the base is a square. That's just base times height. And when the base and the height are both 4, I go 4 times 4 and I get 16. The biggest mistake I see occur now is kids go 160 plus 16 and say they're done. The reason why that is wrong is because there are two bases. There's a bottom base and a top base. And so what we add together for the surface area is the lateral area and two bases together. So I'm going to take the lateral area of 160 plus 2 of the bases, and each base is 16. So they want both the lateral area and the surface area for this problem. I already got the lateral area as 160. If I multiply out the 2 times 16 and add the 160, I should get the entire surface area to be 192. Now we do want labels with these. The labels in the problem are feet, and we're talking area, so we want to take those feet and square them. And we get our final answer. The next problem is similar. When you have a non-rectangular prism, the base is a shape that isn't a rectangle. In this case, that's this triangle here. And so we want to start off once again with that lateral area. The lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height. Now if you look at this base shape, you have two sides on it, but you need the third side. To get the third side, this is where your Pythagorean theorem comes into play. So the third side's across from the 90, that's my hypotenuse. I go 3 squared plus 3 squared times, let's call it x squared. I get 9 plus 9 is x squared. Combine my 9's, I get 18 x squared. Take my square root. And x, I'm going to leave it in radical form for now, is actually just going to be 3 root 2. It's 3 root 2. And now that we have that third side, which is 3 root 2, we can find the perimeter of that base by adding up all those sides. We'll go 3 plus 3 plus 3 root 2. I'm doing this on my calculator. And I get that perimeter to be about 10.243. And now we're going to multiply that by that height of 10. And we get a perimeter of about 102, or sorry, a lateral area of about 102.43. So the next thing we need to do is move on to our base. So the base is a triangle. If you remember your formula for a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height, and the base and the height have to make a right angle. Those are my two 3's. So I go 1/2 3 times 3. And we get 4.5 for the base. Now there's two bases, remember, so when we do our surface area, we go surface area equals the lateral area, 102.43, plus 2 of the bases, 2 times 4.5. Add that all up. And we should get a total surface area of about 111.43. It does say to round our answer to the nearest whole number, so when we write our answer, I'll write that one down here. Surface area is about 111, because it rounds us around the nearest whole number, inches squared, and the lateral area is about 102 inches squared. Okay, so cylinders are really similar as well. Same formula, except we're dealing with circles. And so if we're trying to find the surface area for a cylinder, we already know some things about them. Like, we know that with our formula, surface area equals the lateral area plus two bases, we know the base. The base is a circle, so we just use pi r squared for the area of the base. And the lateral area is interesting because it's perimeter times height. Well, the perimeter of the base is really the circumference of the circle. So we can plug in 2 pi r and we get 2 pi r h. And now we're ready to just plug everything in. lateral area is 2 times pi times the radius. Well, we gave us a diameter, so we cut that in half. We get 7.5 times the height. That's the distance between the cylinders, 32. Multiply that all out. They do want your answer in terms of pi, so don't do anything with the pi. Leave it there. And we get 480 pi. Next, we want to go get that base. The base is a circle. It's pi times radius squared. Well, we already said the radius was 7.5. We're still leaving everything in terms of pi, so I get 56.25 pi. And I go, oh, surface area is 480 pi, the lateral area, plus 2 of the bases. Add that all up in terms of pi, and I get 592.5 pi for my surface area. And then remember to nicely label your answers. They want the lateral and the surface area in this one. So lateral area was the 480 pi. Let's give it a label, centimeters squared. And surface area was the 592.5 pi. Let's give it a label 2, centimeters squared. We're essentially going to do the same thing on this next one. I want to pause the video and try it on your own. And we end up with our final answers. Lateral area is 110 pi, surface area is 160 pi. And both of those have the label meters squared. So that's that first page where we talked about prisms and cylinders. After that, we moved on to talking about cones and pyramids. So students will be able to find the surface area of a pyramid and a cone. Well, to find the surface area of a pyramid or a cone, it's just the surface area equals the lateral area plus only one base this time. And now the base formulas are all still the same, it's just whatever the shape the base is, but the lateral area formula is different. It's 1/2 perimeter of the base times L, and L is referred to as the slant height, or if we simplify that for the cones, we get pi times the radius times L. We want to use this first one when we're dealing with pyramids, and the second one when we're dealing with cones. So we've got pyramids versus cones. So we look, we're finding this lateral and surface area of cones, and we're rounding to the nearest whole number, so we're going to use that pi RL this time. So we start with our lateral area, it's pi times the radius. Well, the radius is going to be 2 times the slant height, 6. And we just actually multiply that all out. And we should get 37.68 if we use 3.14 for pi. We go on to the base, that's pi times the radius squared. Well, the radius is 2. Multiply that out, and we get 12.56. Now, surface area, we just add those two numbers together. We take 37.68 plus 12.56. If we're using 3.14 for our pi's, you get about 50.24. They do want your answer rounded to the nearest whole number, and they want the lateral and surface area. So a lateral area is about 38 centimeters squared. I'm rounding that one. And surface area is about 50 centimeters squared. I rounded that one as well. And we're just going to repeat the process in the next one. The trick on this next one, though, that I want to talk with you about is that what they give you, the 16, is actually the height of your object, and that's not what you want. What you actually need is this slant height right here. And so if you look, the slant height, the actual height, and the radius make a right triangle, and so you can use your Pythagorean theorem to get that third side. I would go 16 squared plus 12 squared equals that slant height squared, I call it L. I get 256, that's 16 squared, 144 is 12 squared. Add them together, we get 400 is our slant height squared. Take our square roots, and our slant height is 20. And now that you have that 20, you should be able to finish that one up. Why don't you try to pause the video here and do so. All right, you can check your answers with mine. I got the lateral area 753.6, base was 452, got me a surface area of 1205.76. When I round those, I get 1206 for the surface area and 754 for the lateral area. Both of those have a label of centimeters squared. So pyramids are actually quite similar. They can be a little bit easier though, depending on what that base is. says find the lateral area and the surface area again of each pyramid. Round your answer to the nearest whole number. So remember back at the top I said that the lateral area formula for a pyramid is just 1/2 perimeter of the base times the slant height. So we just go plug that in. Perimeter of the base, well the base is 9 by 9 by 9 by 9. You can assume it's a square if they only give you one measurement. And it's got 4 sides like that. So really, I added 9 4 times, that's the same as 36, times the slant height 12, multiply those together, and I get the lateral area to be 216. Now I'm going to go do the base. It's 9 by 9, so I go 9 times 9, and I get 81. Surface area is just take those numbers, add them up, and we get 297. So our lateral area was 216 meters squared, and our surface area was 297 meters squared. Okay? Oops, I circled that in pretty poorly. There you go. So this next one is very similar, but once again, you're going to need to use the Pythagorean theorem like we did up above. So here will be where your slant height is. You've got the height of the object 10, and then what we have right here is actually the radius. And it's actually going to be half that side length, so it's going to be 2.5. So you pause the video, do your Pythagorean theorem, get your slant height, and then plug it in to find your lateral and your surface areas. All right, you should have gotten a slant height to be 10.308. Something in that realm. You plug that in, your total surface area is 128 right here, and your lateral area ends up being 103. Careful with how you set up your Pythagorean theorem. Make sure that L was your C value. If it wasn't, then you might have gotten some very different answers for your slant height, which will then get you off on everything else. Okay? So after we talked about the surface area of these shapes, we actually moved on to talking about volume of some of them. So here we're going to talk about volume of a prism and volume of a cone, but it looks like more volume of a cone and volume of a pyramid. So the volume formulas for a cone, or for any cone or pyramid, is 1/3 the big base, area of the base, once again, times the height. And so once again, when we're dealing with a cone, we know what that base is. It's just pi times radius squared, which is nice. The key is always to actually have your height. Sometimes to trip you up, they'll give you your slant height, and then you got to use the Pythagorean theorem to go get the actual height. So we're actually going to want our answers to the nearest whole number. So we go, okay, volume equals 1/3 base times height. So that means I need the base. I look base. Okay, it's a circle. I go pi times the radius squared. That's 2 squared, and I get 4 pi. And I'm just going to plug in 4 pi for now and type everything in later. And then I need the height. And if you look, the height goes from the middle of the base to the top, and I don't have that. So what I do once again is I set up my Pythagorean theorem. I cut the diameter in half to get the radius. I go, let's call this height h. H squared plus 2 squared equals 6 squared. 36. That's our 6 squared, 4 is our 2 squared. I keep going. I'm going to solve this for h. I bring that over, I get 32. I take the square root of 32, and that's my height. I'm just going to call that my height for now. And now I'm just going to type the whole thing in my calculator. I go 1/3 times 4 times 3.14 times the square root of 32, and I get the volume rounded to be 23.68, which becomes, so I get 23.68, which is about 24 centimeters. And I want it, since it's volume, we actually take that in cubit. All right, you're lucky on the next one. They actually gave you the height, so pause the video and try that next one. And we should end up getting 2,412 centimeters cubed on that one for our volume. So pyramids are really similar. Once again, it's that 1/3 base times height formula. The base this time is whatever the shape is. So like on this first one, I can see the base is a square, so I just go 9 by 9. Once again, you got to make sure they give you the height, and here they gave you that slant height, so you want to draw on the height and draw on a radius. The radius is half that side length when it's a square, so that's 4.5. I use h for my height, and I start solving that Pythagorean theorem. I go h squared plus 4.5 squared equals 12 squared. I get 144 for 12 squared. For 4.5 squared, I get 20.25. H squared then equals 123.75, and I end up getting H to be about 11.1. So I can now go plug that in. I go volume equals 1/3, the base, 81, times the height, 11.1. And I get the volume to be 299.7, which rounds to 300 meters cubed.